Hi everyone, my name is Leah Kopke and I'm a 3D motion design freelancer. I also have a podcast where each week I cover another 3D modeling tool for Cinema 4D. Hello and welcome. In today's episode we're going to go over the Inflate brush inside of Cinema 4D, so let's go ahead and get started. This is a pretty simple brush here. I'm going to change from standard mode to sculpting mode. I'll drop in a sphere. I'll increase the number of segments, change it to be a hexahedron as the sphere type. I'll change this to garage shading lines. And within our objects tab over here, I have my sphere selected and I want to make it editable so that we can start adjusting the edges, points, and polygons. Now that I've done that, I want to hit the subdivide button so that we'll subdivide this as well as give this a sculpting tag, which will allow us to adjust this in our layer manager as well as use the masking brush on here. We covered the masking tool last week. You can check that out if you'd like to learn more about it. If you want to learn about sculpting layers, you can do that as well. I'll leave links to that information below. Now, I want to use this sphere as an example for how the Inflate brush works. It's pretty good at keeping detail in a mesh. I'll increase the strength of our draw brush here that we've talked about in the past, and I'm just going to create a cursive L on here so that you can see how well it keeps the detail in here. When I inflate it, I'll increase the strength of the inflate brush and use the right bracket key to just make the size of the brush a little bit bigger. And you can see that it's inflating the L kind of like a balloon, but it also does a pretty good job at keeping the shape. I'm going to hit undo because that was a little bit much. But I want to show you some of the settings in here. The basic settings are the same as what we've covered in the past. Most of the settings in here are the same as what we've covered in the past. There are some new options for the inflate though to keep in mind. So for the flood, if we click that, it'll inflate everything. And if you use the interactive flood, you can adjust the strength of the flood. You can even go in the reverse direction, and when we do that, you can see we're getting some intersections. So that is one thing you need to be careful of. If you start using the inflate in the negative direction, you can get some intersections. You could even get some if you go too far in the positive direction. So I'm going to hit Control Z or undo. That's Command Z on Mac. So it could get back to where we were before. So that's how that works. I'm going to remove this cursive L because I actually want to show you how you can use the flood with the masking tool and how you can use the flood with an actual material that we'll create. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm removing the L. We're back to where we were before, and why not just draw a smiley face on here as an example? Going to invert the mask. So now we have the smiley face mask here. Let's go back to our inflate. And you'll see that the inflate honors your mask. So as I increase the interactive flood, it is honoring where we put that mask. And we could even blur out the mask a little bit more if we want these edges to be a little bit smoother. But that's the inflate only affecting that area. That works with the flood. Very useful. I'm going to remove all that and remove our mask because now we're going to create a material to use the flood with. And this is different than using an image for the stamp or the stencil. And you can use a material for the stamp or the stencil. This is a little bit different because it fills the entire object using that material. If you'd like to learn about the stamp and stencil settings, I'll leave a link to that information below because those are basically the same for all the brushes. So you can check that out. Let's create a material. So I find this works best with the legacy material. So I'm going to use a classic material, new standard material. Let's rename this. I'm going to name this Inflate material. And let's look in our textures. We have a lot of different cool ones to work with here. You can use a sketch and tune texture if you want, like the spots or the hatch. Let's see what else we have in here to work with. Let's try wood. I'm going to edit this texture a bit. I want it to be black and white. So I'm going to remove all the saturation. I'm going to make this one white. And I'm going to make this one black. And remove all the saturation once again. So now we have a black and white kind of wood texture here. Let's go back over to our Inflate. And let's drag and drop our material in here. And you can see that it's showing up in here. This is good. And let's use the interactive flood with it. So it's using that wood texture in order to adjust the surface in here. And if you want it to be a little bit cleaner, you could actually UV wrap this a little bit. But then I can interactively decide I want this to be different, and we could adjust the texture to something other than wood. We could try spots. We used that last time for the masking tool, so you could see how that turns out. It's kind of fun trying these out. And it'll apply that effect to the interactive flood. You can even go in the negative direction. You can see here you can go positive or negative. And that's kind of a little bit more of a waffle pattern on here. So that's pretty cool. And since we have subdivision levels on this, it will also update along with those. So really cool tool. We have some modifiers over here. Let's enable our modifiers in our modifier tab. I'm going to remove this texture we made. So I hit undo a few times. With our Inflate, we have a few options here. I'm just going to draw something here with the draw brush so that we have a little bit more of a complex surface to show how this would look like on. And I'll go back to our Inflate. You can see we have the option smooth, so I'll go ahead and check that on and increase the strength. So what this does is it layers the different brushes on top of each other. So this is what it looks like with the Inflate and the smooth together. I can uncheck that and choose draw, and now we're using the draw brush with the Inflate. You can see what that looks like here. Maybe I'll try a smaller size brush just so that you can see what that looks like. The next option is pinch. So this will pinch together the vertices and also inflate at the same time. So that looks quite a bit different than the other ones. It actually is a really cool effect. You can see that's pulling those vertices in closer while also inflating it. And that just about wraps up all of the options for the Inflate brush. I hope you found this helpful. If you'd like to learn more 3D modeling tools inside of Cinema 4D and be notified when those come out as episodes, please hit like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next episode. Happy 3D modeling.